everyone. This is Reema again, and in my video last week, I had mentioned I'll be speaking with an artist about his experiences working from home and also his hopes for the UAE creative community during this difficult time. So I'm here today with Faissal, who has agreed to be a part of this process. So toward the end of our video, we'll be inviting you all to respond with how you've experienced our conversation, because we don't see it as a one-sided conversation. We'd rather see it more as an exchange. And in my video next week, I will be sharing how we've all been moved by this collective exchange. So hello, Faissal.
Ahlan. Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I think it's a really important conversation to have, so I'm glad we're making it happen.
Yes, I'm very happy to have you around as well. Do you want to share a bit more about yourself and your hopes for being a part of this conversation?
Yeah, so I'm a designer, designer and artist based at Tashkeel. I've been part of Tashkeel for about 4 years now. And definitely, I felt part of that community and part of that kind of a joint unit and effort for us to advance our practice. And so obviously this has changed these days because we're each separated. So I hope that this conversation will kind of maybe we'll be able to share our current experience.
Yes. So, in your response, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm hearing that that exchange, that community was very important to you. And now it's kind of more difficult given the current circumstance. So would you say so?
Absolutely. I think that Tashkeel in particular is a space where artists and creatives of Dubai come and look for that community and come and look for that interaction where, we each have lunch together, we have discussions over coffee about our work or maybe our life in general, not necessarily work-wise. So we really built friendships and collaborations. And for us to not have that daily interaction with others is quite difficult, yes.
Yes, I find it interesting you shared that piece, right? Like that community piece, because I started off asking you about your hopes. Why? Because I know it can be very easy for a lot of people to get lost in all this uncertainty. But when I was approached by Tashkeel, a lot of artists have shared different concerns, and one of which was feeling disconnected from the community, as well as disconnected from the muse, some economical, financial concerns, how to navigate home studio life. So I became curious about what other effects have you been experiencing aside from the disconnection from the community?
I think work-wise, it's a real concern that everything has stopped and that it's kind of this unsettled, unsure of the end. I think this is the main concern, is that you don't really know for how long the situation is going to last, and if and when things are going to come back into effect in terms of my personal projects and things that have been put on hold. So it's that unsettled nature of what's happening that's a bit tough, for me to kind of navigate and understand how I can keep that motivation and keep that drive to keep going and keep working when you don't really know why,
When I see, right. So I'm hearing all this uncertainty has caused this pause and this like when is this really going to end, and has affected your motivation and drive overall, which I imagine a lot of people listening to this can resonate, I think, across different fields, not just the creative industry as well. So I'm curious, what ways have you so far been responding to this uncertainty, and which of these ways has been most helpful to you so far?
for me, keeping a connection with my peers and my community has been very helpful. Beyond helping me work-wise, it's also been helpful just, to discuss how they're dealing with it and what are their concerns, and for us to be able to exchange around that, to feel that you're not alone in what you're experiencing, and also to keep that kind of studio community alive, where if I need some advice about the work that I'm doing, then maybe it's not about me crossing my studio to my friends and being like, oh, can you have a look at this, what do you think? Or maybe now it's about sending it via WhatsApp or like Zoom and being like, oh, what do you think? And then we'll have a discussion. So not to be shy or afraid to reach out when I need that support, because vice versa, it's also good for both of us to have that exchange. So yeah, that's one way. And this week I'm in a program called SEEF, the Sheikh Salama Emerging Artist Fellowship Program. And this week we're supposed to have a teaching week where we're all together, all the fellows are together, but now we're having a digital teaching week. But it's so amazing how I feel that as human beings, we adapt, and our default is to be happy. Like, it's so cool because we end up speaking to each other several times a day. We all meet at the end of the day and we review our work, and you feel that support, and you feel that we're all going to, because we all have a similar task. It's so cool to be able to know that we're all working towards the same thing.
Yes,
so
yes.
that really brings us together.
Yes, wow. So I heard a few themes here, right? Like, I'm hearing the importance of reaching out for you, and the importance of having relationships where it's not just one-sided, but both sides are mutually helping each other and supporting each other, and where even though you can't physically be together or can't be physically in a studio per se, but the studio is now more virtual, I guess, right? Like, it's that exchange is happening in very different medium. And so you're adapting, right? So I'm also thinking adaptability has been a skill that you really value for everybody, not just for yourself. Would you say that what you've shared, would you say that would be your advice that you would give to other artists and students who might be struggling right now, whether emotionally or financially? Or do you have any other advice you would give to them?
I mean, emotionally, I think it's the main thing is not to be shy, and that, I think, goes in general for I feel, for me, this is how I deal with feeling unsettled or not feeling great, is to not feeling shy about it, and reach out to the people that you have that connection with, or you have that close relationship to, and be able to talk about it, and to just exteriorize it, because that's so important, and especially now. I mean, I'm lucky that I'm doing social distancing, but I'm with family, so I have that human interaction every day. But I know for some of my peers, it's not the case, and maybe you've been alone for 3 weeks, and so it's yeah, just not being shy about it.
Right. Yeah. So I'm hearing like not holding back from actually reaching out. And I really appreciate what you shared in centering how your experience is different from others, maybe, because I think you're right. Like, there's a lot of people who are living without family, and that it must be very, difficult. And I imagine maybe some people may not have that same connection to people and community like you do. But I guess that's partly my hope with starting a conversation. Maybe for those people, they could, hopefully see that there's others who are having similar experiences, and that they could reach out to.
Absolutely, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So, oh, sorry. Let's go ahead.
No, it's I don't know. I mean, then I'm lucky to have that community around me that can support it. And I hope that everyone has at least someone that they can talk to if they need
Yes.
to.
Yes. So, what are your hopes for or your wishes, I guess, for how could the UAE creative community respond to the challenges it is facing right now?
I don't know if it's about the community yet. I don't know
Mm,
if it's realistic for us to be thinking about the community as a whole at the moment. You see a lot of initiatives going on, and I feel for me, I feel that you individually have to be ready, and you individually have to be comfortable enough to be able to work on your practice and on different projects for you to be able to kind of engage. um, I don't know if for example, like there are weeks where I'm not motivated to work on anything, and
mm,
I don't really want to engage with anyone, and I don't really feel that, I feel the need to do that. And other times where um, I'm supported by this, like I mentioned this week, where I'm supported by a common thing that we're all doing, and that
mm,
uh, holds me accountable, where at the end of the day or at the end of the week, I know that I will have to have done this, and
mm,
this is something that drives me forward. So maybe it's finding this kind of uh, common thing, but also in parallel to a personal motivation. So I don't know,
mm.
it's a tricky time to say what it is that's going to happen
I see.
to the creative
Yeah,
community. I find it very tricky,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
we're all dealing with it in a very different way. So I don't
That's
I don't
that's for
know.
sure.
I don't know what the right formula is, and if someone
Mm,
has
right,
it
right.
yet.
Yes, I wish someone had it,
Yeah.
right? It would be so much easier for everybody involved, right? But yeah, I really appreciate you shared your stance on that, and what I guess it begs the question, right? Like, what does community even mean, right? And I guess one thing that spoke to me though, from what you shared, right, about there are some days when you don't have that same drive motivation, not even want to reach out to anybody, and I can connect with that because I mentioned to you that I work as a counseling psychologist, but also I write poems as well, and I have a few that I've published. So I'm engaged in the creative process in that sense, and I can relate that there are certain days when I'm really not in the mood to do anything. I just want to do nothing, right? And there's just, I don't know if you can relate, Faisal, or if others can relate, but I find there's a lot of societal messages out there about what it means to be a creative person or a productive person. And I find that both in my personal life and in my work with clients as well, that these expectations can really bog a lot of people down and even limit their creativity and motivation as a result, because they feel like they have no permission to actually allow themselves not do anything. So I'm not sure whether you relate to that in any way.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm so grateful that I have the privilege to be, in a comfortable home with not really a high amount of stress related to the current situation beyond me not going out, which is really minimal stress. Um, and just to kind of take a step back from the hustle of having to do all of these things and go to all of these places and be at every opening and at every talk and kind of keep
Mm,
up with whatever is happening in the city, and now to kind of settle in a more relaxed way where I'm not pressuring myself to see people or to do all of
mm,
these things.
mm,
So I'm very grateful that I have that comfort of just slowing down and being able to appreciate this new slow pace.
wow.
um, but that's definitely something that I acknowledge the privilege
Mm,
uh,
mm,
that of what it means to me for me to be able to have that, and that not
mm.
everyone has that privilege of being so comfortable in this current situation. And I
Mm,
acknowledge that, and I'm so grateful
mm,
for it
mm.
every day.
Mm-hmm. No, I really appreciate that. So I'm hearing that this pause, while on the one hand there's a lot of uncertainty that can affect your motivation, but on the other hand, it's also an opportunity for you. And in a sense, privilege to some degree affords you to be able to see it as an opportunity which may not be accessible to everybody else, but that leaves you feeling grateful and feeling able to make use of that.
Absolutely, without stress. I mean, without. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
did have goals in the beginning of like reading all of these books and watching
Right.
all of these things and all of that, and it's not. It's. I mean, I'm sticking to one thing at least, which is
Yes.
exercising, which I've been doing consistently. Now the other things I'm kind of doing, but it's fine. You know, it's not like I'm not stressing if I'm not. Finished with this chapter that day, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm just taking it as it goes day by day, and
Hmm. Yeah.
and it's, yeah, just enjoying it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Would you say it's another advice you'd offer to other artists, like take it day by day?
Take it day by day, yes, and set some goals, even though you don't stick to them. Just set some
Mm-hmm.
goals. I think it's been useful for me to set some goals, to write things down and have a list of things that I'd like to do during this time, and things that I'd like to dedicate more time to that maybe I didn't have, or my priorities were different before. And and even though, I mean, I'm not stressed about not keeping all of these goals, but just, yeah, and do what you can every day. It's not a big
Mm-hmm.
deal, especially that
Yeah.
now everything is on hold, so there's really
Mm-hmm.
no real deadline, unless you're doing something very specific. But from everyone around me, everyone's work is more or less on hold or postponed. So just,
Right.
enjoy the day.
Yes, yes, yes. That's so I'm hearing setting goals, taking it day by day, enjoy the day, going at your own pace. And I really appreciate all that you've shared so far, and I'm very aware that yes, no one person's experience can possibly represent everybody else's. I think, as you've
Mhm.
rightfully explained, maybe, I guess, maybe let me share how I understand community, right? Like, I guess I don't personally see community as this um, one, I guess, sea of people, I guess, right? That
Mhm.
makes sense. But like, I guess I see it as a collective, maybe like a mixed salad, I guess, like a fruit
Mhm.
salad, where they're mixed together and the flavors are blended together, but each fruit has its own individuality, its own tastes and textures and whatever, right? Um, so that's where I personally like to see community. But I really appreciate you sharing your own personal experiences and what has been most useful and helpful to you as well. So I'm curious, is there any last thoughts you would like to share with the viewers that I didn't get to ask you about?
Um, Not really. I think what keeps me going is just not to stress about something that is not directly affecting me, and obviously to be aware and to be cautious and
Mm.
all of these things, but not to get lost in the sea of like WhatsApp forwards and
Mm.
like doomsday scenarios and all of these things, and just be grateful that you're at home, that you're safe, that you can still do what you love, even if it's not in your regular space or in your regular kind of setup. Just focus on that, and the day
Mm.
passes and you're doing well. So yeah.
Yes, yes. I love that image, by the way. I think I'm gonna steal that from you if you don't mind. Like getting lost in the sea of WhatsApp forwards. Yes, I get so much of that. And especially those of
Yeah.
us who are member of different WhatsApp groups and family groups
Yeah.
even. It can be
Absolutely.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Faisal. I really enjoyed our conversation
Thank
today.
you.
And I was sharing in my first video, how much the arts has given to me personally and to my
Hmm.
loved ones and to the clients I serve, so it's very meaningful, to be a part of this process. And it's really meaningful that you know, took a step here and agreed to be a part of this process as well. So I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to share a message to the viewers. You know, as we've mentioned, right, Faisal's experiences may by no means be representative of everybody else's experiences, but we do hope that it can give us all a starting point for having a collective conversation together. So that's why we are very interested in hearing your responses. So you may share these responses through the comments below, or you may private message me or private message Tashkeel, or you may share any creative artwork or videos even that can represent how you experience our conversation, and you can tag us all in your creations. So when you're posting your responses, you're invited to consider any of the following questions. One is, what most caught your attention in our conversation? Why did these parts catch your attention? And where does our conversation move you, whether in your own life or whether for your hopes, you know, for the UAE creative community, or for hopes for yourself even. So we really look forward to your responses, and stay tuned for our next video next week. And thank you once again, Faisal. So nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.